Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have Sofia with us, and I met Sofia through TikTok. She goes by Sober Babe. Babe is spelled though not with an E, but rather with the number 3. And then she has an Instagram, WOP what's our purpose. And I've been following her journey for a while when it comes to sobriety and recovery. And I reached out to her and asked her if she'd come on and talk a little bit about her story. And I'm super excited for this because I think you're our first like female guest on here. And I know I have a pretty large female audience on TikTok and YouTube. And I'm always trying to appeal to all demographics out there, right? Every person, every demographic. So, Sophia, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. So, Sophia, if you don't mind just jumping right into it, would you mind telling everyone a little bit about what addictions it was that you were struggling with? We'll start there. Then we'll talk about what worked for you getting sober, and then we'll go into what you're up to today because you're into some really exciting stuff. So, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, what addictions were you struggling with, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was struggling with alcohol. It had started very young for me. It was 12 when I started drinking. That was my first blackout. I can remember my brother carrying me up the stairs after I snuck out. And my mom actually woke up because we were very loud. And she was very worried. Honestly, she tried to stick a toothbrush down my throat because she was so scared that she wanted me to throw up because she was like, oh my God. And that kind of I think that first blackout, I just thought it was normal. I didn't, my friends were like, whoa, that's weird. But I didn't really see anything. I just was like, I drank too much. But that was the initial blackout that I had. And from there, obviously, progressively got worse and worse. So I'm 29, so it took a very, very, very long time for me to understand that I did even have a problem. It was always the externals, like the people or, the boyfriend or anything I could blame, justifying my drinking habits. It was that. So finally came to the conclusion that all the external, it was me, and definitely I figured that one out. But
did you have, for the alcohol, when you figured that out, did you have like a quote unquote rock bottom moment, or was it more just an accumulation of things were going wrong, or did someone else step in and say, hey, you need help with this? What was it that pushed you to figure that out? Like, oh, this is
yeah.
an issue.
So I had a few of those things. So I've had plenty of rock bottoms. Unfortunately, I've gotten arrested 11 times. I've had 4 PIs, which is a public intoxication. I've had 4 assaults. So that is I can never be on a lease. I look like a violent criminal on papers because I'm a violent drunk because I don't remember what I do. And it took me getting arrested. It took me falling. The initial last time I got wasted before thinking I had a problem, I had fell asleep at a dog park, and this person had woken me up apparently, and they took me to their apartment. And so I woke up at a strange apartment, not knowing how I got there in the morning, and I was terrified. And that guy, he was like, look, I'm paralyzed from my waist down. I didn't do anything because I was scared that something else may have happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, I found you, and I just didn't want you sleeping in the dog park on Rainy, which is on downtown Austin. And I don't even know how I got to Rainy. And so he was basically he took me in and was just trying to let me sleep off my drunk. And that's when I was like, it's happened already 3 times, because I fell asleep in an alley one time and I got arrested. And the police, the next day, they're like, we found you in an alley, right? And I was like, oh my God. So I knew it was people were coming up to me that were my friends, and they were like, dude, this is going to kill you. You're taking it to the extreme of you're falling asleep, you go out alone, no matter what you do, you're just always alone. And it's I would do it alone because everyone else, like, couldn't handle me, or I didn't want to make a fool of myself. So then I would just like hide it, and it was just awful, like very awful. But it took me like, yeah, getting
It
arrested.
it took a lot, and so I know the answer to this, but you said you're 29 now. How long ago did you stop drinking? How long ago did you stop drinking?
So I stopped drinking initially. It was in 2019. It
Yeah.
lasted a year and a half. I relapsed last March, and then that's when I had to try something different. But initially is when I knew I realized I had a problem was 2019.
2019 after that cumulative effect. So the
Yeah.
first time around in 2019, what was your initial approach to getting sober prior to the relapse? What did you do? Did you go into a treatment facility? Was it AA? Was it on your own? What did you do?
So I had I'm a really big like reader. I like to read books, and so like I came across this book, and it was called The Naked Mind, and like it kind of got me to like switch my perspective on drinking. And I was like, yeah, this is totally, it kind of like caught me in my delusion, because I was like, this is totally nuts. Like everything this book has to say, like why am I doing this? This is poison. Like, so that helped. And I started hanging around a sober crowd. So I was already changing my environment around me. I wasn't going out. Everything around me, I was changing and making an effort and actually doing it. It's just, I didn't have like a lasting solution, because like only so much, like you can read a book and be like, wow, that enlightened me to a sense, but what's the solution that's going to keep you on to not picking up that drink? So that was the initial seed, and I think it was a very crucial seed.
That book is awesome. I've read this Naked Mind. I don't know if that's the same person who wrote The Alcohol Experiment. There might be some connection there, but excellent book. Okay, so that was the initial seed, and then did you stop drinking at that? You presumably you did. Presumably you stopped for a period of time then.
I did. I stopped for a whole year and a half, but mind you, this was like, okay, well, I'm an alcoholic. I can still do shrooms. I can still do kava. I can still do kratom. I can still do whippets. I can still smoke pot here and there. So it was like, okay, I'm doing the thing that caused me the most problems. I'm stopping that. But everything else I didn't have a problem with, so it's going to be okay.
I can relate to that on a different level, but you know my content, so this won't. I was the same way. Oh, I'll quit smoking weed, but I'm still gonna do nicotine. Alcohol for me wasn't a major issue, so I'll still binge drink. What's the problem with me drinking 2-3 energy drinks a day, and then taking some pre-workout with blah blah blah. So it was different, but I had the same type of wake up call. Like, wait a second, this something didn't work there, something didn't work there. Okay, so that's interesting. So you're still doing other things. There was other things going on.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy because it was interesting. I went into a shroom trip one time knowing that alcohol was killing me, and I came out like never, like it was like it definitely changed my perspective. And in my shroom trip, I remember realizing like, this is gonna kill me. Alcohol is gonna kill me. Like, why am I doing this? And like, it was like quite a people like are like, why did you? I was by myself.
And that was a big wake up moment for you.
Yes.
That's it. People ask me all the time about my opinion on psychedelics. It's something I have no experience with, and like most things, I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'm totally indifferent to it. Right? Like all I care about is addiction. So if someone called me and said they were addicted to shrooms, well, then I'd be interested. If someone says they had a great experience with it and it snapped them out of addiction or helped with their depression or anxiety, that's awesome too. I'm just as happy for that. So okay, so that's really fascinating hearing that. Maybe sometime we'll have to do a different segment about that, because that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had all this going on, and then if you don't mind me asking, this and then a relapse occurred. Do you mind what I relapsed on stuff a million times. You know what I mean? So especially those things I talk about. What happened? What led up to the relapse, if it's not too personal or too intrusive to ask that?
No, not at all. So my relapse. So I had a close friend last February. He got into a really tragic accident in a car, and he didn't make it through it. That kind of like triggered a series of events of like doubting what I thought this like higher power could like. I started taking my will back little by little. Even though I wasn't in the program, I still was like spiritual and a means of praying and like guiding. So like I kind of just started to get into that victim mindset. Like, this isn't working. Like, why am I even doing this? Why am I sober? We're just gonna die. Like, I started to get into that just horrible rabbit hole. And like me and a few sober friends were actually supposed to go to the beach that weekend. And it kind of led up to like my expectations not being met. They kind of just fell out. They just couldn't go. It was too rushed. So then next thing you know, I'm going to the beach. I grabbed my cat, my bag. I'm going to the beach by myself, but not even like, I just like my first initial reaction, I just went to the liquor store after a year and a half, like got so much booze to where like I got like 6 minis and then a whole Deep Eddy grapefruit, or I don't know if it was Deep Eddy. Yeah, it was Deep Eddy grapefruit, and just drove to the beach while drinking the entire time. And it was just so quick and sudden. And just like now that I know how fast relapse happens, it was like a bolt of lightning. Like I had no thought, just like was acting, and it was like almost like it wasn't. But it was like so natural, but it wasn't myself. But it was just like, because like I had been doing that my whole life. So it was scary because the whole way there, I vaguely remember driving to Port Aransas. So I'm in Austin. So that's like a 3-hour drive. So drinking the whole way. My cat threw up on me on the way because maybe I was driving erratically, or I don't know. He threw up on me. I do remember that. And then I blacked out from Friday, woke up Sunday. So I had blacked out for an entire 2 days and woke up on the beach, not even at my mom. I was supposed to stay at my mom's house, and I didn't wake up there. So
that's a very intense situation.
yeah.
It's very intense. When you said your cat threw up on you, my instant reaction was to laugh, and I was like, "This isn't funny. There's nothing funny about this." But I'm sorry. That's funny. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, so that happens. Okay, and it's I get it. I don't talk a lot about stuff, but I've certainly found myself in bad situations. Blacked out one time walking around Toronto, got lost. Some people took me in for the night. Some girls into their dorm room, which was nice, but a terrible experience. I could have been killed, kidnapped, God knows. So all these bad things happen. Okay, now let's go back to this. All right, all that happens, and then was after that or shortly after that you decided, okay, I need to do a different approach to sobriety?
And I was still working with Clean Cause, and since we give 50% to addiction recovery, that was kind of like Sunday I tried to wake up and I tried to drink the bottles. I apparently I had whiskey, and I didn't start with whiskey, so I just was like, I tried to drink it, I woke up miserable and just immediately puked. And that's when I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Like, I threw away the bottles. I was at a gas station. I threw them away, and I just started I knew right then I had to start something different. And so that's when I was like, I'm going to go to AA.
That's awesome. And you've had success with AA, obviously. And tell me, I think most people have some understanding that watch this channel when it comes to AA and 12-step programs. But I think what I'd like to know from you is, what have you found the biggest benefits to be of joining AA or a 12-step program? Like, what have you found to get that's most useful out of it? Is it the accountability? Is it the friendships? Is it the guide? What is it?
So for me, it's definitely the community. The friendships I've made are going to be lifelong friendships. And it's kind of crazy because we can go into this room where we all have this like similar, whatever our drug of choice was, we all had that similar internal malady that we all could relate to. And this room is like a place where we can be vulnerable with each other, and we grow trust with each other. And so like these bonds that I have with these friends, it's like nothing I've ever experienced before. And in a way, it's like we're talking our philosophies on life in a sense. And like, what other group has that? You think about it and you're like, we are pretty lucky, but I've the friendships, the solution, like I have a lasting solution. Like I didn't have that before. It was just kind of like biting my nails and, you know, like I didn't really know how I was going to stay sober, but I knew I stopped. But this time it's like I have tools and I know what to do and it works. And so, yeah.
I think that's a big deal. And I'm actually going to ask you another question too that just goes into that, because you said the community and the friendships. And I love everything you said about AA there. How else, when you weren't in, because at that point you were not in AA, and the weekend that disaster happened with the beach, you said you had some friends who were sober who you were going with. How did you make other sober friends? Did they happen to already be part of your life? Because a lot of people ask me, hey man, how do you find people who don't drink, who don't smoke, who don't do things? Now, some of my friends still do that stuff. It just, at this point in my life, it doesn't bother me. I'm comfortable with it. Some people are just, they're never comfortable with it, which is fine. Early on, I certainly wasn't. And then the people that I'm around that don't drink and do stuff, a lot of people in my life, they tend to be a lot of friends of my wife who never was into much trouble ever at all. And then I made other friends through like different business things and this and that. And don't get me wrong, some people in there definitely need help, but some don't. Some are very straight edge and they've always been very focused. So yeah, how did you make friends that were sober? That's my question. Prior to AA.
Prior to AA. So as I told you, so I did dabble in kava, which kava is like a root.
Yes.
So people in the sobriety community, like not necessarily people who go to the rooms, but like there's like a different crowd. So I started going to this kava bar because I was like, I can't drink, but at least with kava, like it tasted so gross that I don't ever think, I was like, I can't ever have a problem with this because it's like just so nasty that. But I was like, at least I'm like, it's a social environment. It's like a bar, but I can like talk with people who aren't getting belligerent. I don't have to get belligerent. And I started connecting with people at this kava bar. So that's where I met like friends, and they were like, oh, we're sober off alcohol for this long, a year, 2 years. And the people I was going to go to the beach with, one of them is actually like my really good friend now. And he actually goes in the rooms. We're actually hanging out today. It's funny. But yeah, he's actually was in the rooms, but he was a friend of my friend who's going to take, we're all going to go to the beach.
I take it he's the tall guy in the TikToks?
No. So that's my boyfriend. But
okay, no, someone else. Okay. All right. Yeah.
A friend. But no, yeah, so we were all just going to go. But honestly, I was dating an ex at the time, and he was in sobriety because I actually found him OD'd. And I kind of saved his life, and he was in the room. So he introduced more sobriety to me, and he was going to meetings, and he had friends that were sober that sprouted, so I could start meeting people that way.
Okay. Now, all right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, okay. So you're in AA. Things are, going well. Now, I have another question for you, because this is kind of how I think we connected with each other. You mentioned you used to vape, right? And, I think you came across some of my content. You were thinking about quitting, you said, and maybe some of that helped. Now, it's rare and I get a lot of heat sometimes when I'm in even meetings or other things for like not vaping, not smoking weed. People are like, oh, these are like staples in my recovery. Like, who are you to come in and not do those things? I'm like, well, I don't care if you do them. It's just, for me, those were the problem. But what made you decide to stop vaping? Because as you know, a lot of people in recovery from other substances, that vape is like a lifeline. I mean, it's a hard thing to put down. So what happened there? What made you stop?
So I told myself at a year that I would look at my nicotine addiction. And honestly, I came across your videos on TikTok, and it was that video where it was like, I can't even have a good time without enforcing it with nicotine. I can't use the restroom without taking my vape with me. I can't even handle the stressful situations, not even the good situations, without enforcing it with nicotine. And I was like, that's totally me. Like everywhere I go, when I lose it, I have an anxiety attack. When I'm sleeping and I wake up, I need it. And it's just like, that's constant. And I was just getting so tired. I'm like, this might not be unmanageable to a sense of like wrecking your life, but it's wrecking my peace. And it's like, I'm always need it. And so that's when I was able to take a look at it. And since I already had a relationship with this higher power, I just did what I did with alcohol and did the 1 through 3 steps.
Yeah.
And surely enough, I didn't know when I would be ready. I was like, oh, I'm going to have to make a day and it's going to be when I'm ready. But it's like, you're never really going to be ready. But I had planted that seed. And with your videos was like a sign. And then I was just one day, I just like, my vape died and I was done.
And you know, that's cool. That's how most people, people ask me, how do you quit? I'm like, the people who are most successful one day, they just stop. There's a seed, there's some thought process, but it's, you wake up and you're done. And I see that time and time again. Now, this was interesting though, and I think important for people. With vaping, you didn't do it right away when you stopped drinking. Some people do. They're like, I'm done with everything. I think that's rare, but they do it. You waited a little bit until you were kind of comfortable in your sobriety from alcohol, or more comfortable in your sobriety from alcohol. And I think that's important, because I think sometimes you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. And you said something really important about alcohol was making life unmanageable. Nicotine, not necessarily. It's a problem, but you can operate, you can work, you can get stuff done, right? So I think that's really important. I just wanted to emphasize that, because I think that's realistic expectations. For some people are like, oh my God, I can't quit vaping right now. Don't quit right now. Well, just wait a minute. See where you're at in a year. See where you're at in 2 years. See where you're at in a few weeks. That's all.
I think it's important to give yourself grace, especially when you first stop, when you first get sober. You're like, you're dealing with already so much stress with that you just, I would say, give yourself grace with that and like let it come whenever you're ready. Because if I had to stop everything at once, I don't know if it would have been as successful. But now that I did it on my own time, I feel like it's more like it's like stuck and set with what the decision I made.
I love that. Okay. So now here we are, and we'll talk about some other stuff, but I do really want to talk about this. So obviously, I know you're up to social media. I see on social media doing well with that. What are you doing today? I know you're working with a company, and they're a drink company, and the product's name is Clean, and it's like a yerba mate tea. I think I got the pronunciation correct. Tell me a little bit about that. What is that? What is the mission behind, like, what's that all about? I see you promoting it.
Yeah, so Clean Cause, it is, you got the pronunciation right. It's a yerba mate tea. We are a energy drink, but like a healthier option. It's USDA certified, so it's organic. And it's really neat because 50% of our profits go to addiction recovery. And so we're able to help out people with scholarships with sober living. And it's like, it's called you drink where we give. I think that's what they say. And so like whether it's bought in Austin or California, whatever the profits are for there, we give back to like however that, I don't know how
all the logistics work for it.
So it's like wherever you are drinking it will go back to the city you're in. And so that's really neat that they can divvy that up. And so this is like what the cans look like. One of my favorites, watermelon mint. But we also have sugar-free options as well. And we're available at like Whole Foods. We're available at HEBs here in Austin. They're really big. Kroger. I know on Amazon you can order them. We actually just released like 3 new drinks, and it's a collagen drink. And so I know people are getting really excited about that. We have 3 new flavors, and it's really neat because like even Macklemore, he's in the recovery scene, and he's our creative director. As far as this year, he joined, and so he's been able to spread the word, and that's been making a huge difference. And
those are some big name people. That's awesome. Yeah. So okay, you've been involved with this, and tell people what else. Like, I suppose, when you stop drinking and you stop doing all this stuff, there's this period where it's like, now what, right? Like, now what do I do? And obviously you're finding stuff. So, right, like I found YouTube, I'm finding new stuff every year that I go through this and whatnot. What else are you up to? Are there other things that you do that you enjoy? Are you into exercise? It sounds like you definitely have some faith-based stuff going on. What else are you into? What else would you throw out there for people who quit drinking, quit smoking weed, and they need something to do. They need something to explore.
Yeah, I think it's really important because when I had the same thought, like, oh no, like life's gonna be so dull, like what am I gonna do? And it's actually like so much, quite the opposite. I go swimming a lot. I actually even started roasting my own coffee, which is really fun. Like I'm finding out all these cool hobbies that I never knew that I had, and making sober based videos. It's a passion of mine because I know I was so scared coming into sobriety. I didn't know what to expect. And now I'm just having fun. There's actually an app here, and it's really cool because they have like sober events. And since I'm so plugged into the sober community, there's so much sober events going on and so many things going on here in Austin that it's really easy to be sober here. It just is.
That's a big deal. That's not something that I'm aware of. There's a lot of things I'm not aware of in life, and that's one of them apparently.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to look into. That's
Yeah.
great. I'm gonna have to look into that. And I want to throw this out there, guys, for the drinks. And if we find other resources like in Austin and stuff, I'll put links to those in the pinned comments in the video description. Okay, so when you look for this stuff, it's funny actually, right? Like if I were to look for trouble, I could find trouble, right? It's not very hard.
No.
But on the flip side, if you look for something like a sober event or something that's maybe not trouble and more productive, you can probably find that too. It's just where you're going to put your energy into. That's really, I didn't know that. Okay, I cut you off a little bit. Was there anything else there?
Not that I can think of. I just know like exercise and staying busy is a really big. I've always been a go person. So once you get sober and you put like your what you could be into like good, like you said, I mean, it'll just fall. Everything falls into your lap just so much easier, and you meet people. And I don't even have to be doing anything all the time. I just like nature is one thing that I connect with the most, and it's one thing that just brings me this peace. So Austin, we have plenty of nature sightings. So I just go to the lake. I go on a hike. I just get outdoors, and it just brings me peace. And even if I'm alone, I still have fun.
I love that. So I'm going to ask you two last questions, and then after these, I'll let you sum up with any final comments or stuff. This has been great. I hope we get to do this again at some point. But my first question would be this: what do you think the most challenging part about getting sober was for you? Like, what do you think the toughest thing was?
Honestly, for me, it was probably like admitting defeat, because I was like, okay, I'm here, now what? Because I'm in the mindset that like all y'all are crazy and y'all are just like trying to like make it seem like sobriety's fun when it really sucks. Like, so I was just like in the delusion of like, I didn't want to admit it because I was like scared, because I'm like, okay, well, I can't drink, but like, what the fuck, what am I going to do? Like, yeah, admitting defeat was probably the worst one. And then just like, okay, from here on out, trusting in something greater than I was a little scary, because I didn't know. I put all these ideas on what it had to be, but it's just like a God of my understanding. And that made it simple for me to break down and trust and see results from this. So I think once we can like not make it so complicated like we like to do, and just trust and let go, and admitting defeat. Yeah.
That's awesome. And now for I guess a non-complicated question. You think it's worth it being on this side of things? Okay.
I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but I had been in the hospital for suicidal tendencies.
Yeah.
I can say like I've never felt this genuine happiness that I have today. I wake up every day not with shame or guilt. I do the next best thing. and people can trust me. And that's something I've never really had because I was always like sneaking things, or my addiction was so bad I like had to keep up with it. So today I just have a sense of peace and genuine happiness that I didn't ever kind of think was possible for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was deserving for some reason, but I definitely am. And it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That gave me goosebumps, some of that. That was really, really cool. Well, Sophia, I'll say this again, guys. If you want to follow her on TikTok, it's Sober Babe, but instead of BABE, it's BAB3. And then you have Instagram, WOP_ what's our purpose. And the drink is clean. You guys can check that out on Amazon in the links. Sophia, is there anything else that you'd like to add? This was a great conversation. Anything else for people, or anything else that you'd like to throw out there?
No, I just want to tell people that there is a solution. There is hope. There's people with all types of addiction, no matter what it is. We all have a similar internal feeling that we can count on each other as a community, even if we don't know each other, through social media. And that's why these tools are so powerful, because we can reach an audience that we were never able to. So I think it's very important to have that support and just know that there's hope and people out there who care that we can do it.
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of relatability in this community. Even if it's not the exact same situation, there's something you can connect on. That's really cool. I love it. Sophia, thank you so much. I'm going to end the broadcast now. We'll chat for a minute, and then that will be it. So I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you.